about K-12 students that maybe get the computer access one time a week. Could you do all of your assignments with access to the computer one time a week? Probably pretty difficult. And if they're not getting that kind of access, we're not preparing them for their future. So again, we have to think about what kind of things can we do in order to ensure our students' success. So, that's one element, looking at digital natives and how they use technology in terms of what can we make them, making sure that they're successful. Another element now is No Child Left Behind. How many of you have heard of this? All right, vast majority of you. Can anybody give me a short elevator version? A little 30-second spiel. What is No Child Left Behind? Yeah.
One of the worst things you wish I could believe.
Okay, matter of opinion? Yes.
Isn't it where, I'm pretty sure that it's where you're teaching all students of all different types of capabilities in the same room and not necessarily like separating them by academic achievement?
Kind of, in that you need to make sure that everybody is achieving the standards.
Isn't it like, I thought it was like a kid could go, if it's one school tested higher than their school, or can't they go to that school or something like that? Like, it's not, you don't have to stay in your district if you can go to a better school.
That's if the school doesn't meet adequate yearly progress. But yeah, you're right. You're on the right track too.
Basic a punishment and reward system for schools that meet certain standards that the law has set.
Okay. All right.
Isn't it like if it depends on children's learning styles, and if there's a child that can't stand to hear other noises or something, then you kind of cater to their needs so then they can be educated also.
Not necessarily though. It does incorporate looking at how we can make sure that every single student achieves, regardless of whatever kind of problems they have. And so basically what No Child Left Behind has done is it's changed from, instead of schools saying, yes, our average student has in fact achieved and they are proficient in all these different areas, now it says every single one of our students has become proficient. So now it's looking at every individual student. We want every single student to be highly educated. We want every single student to be successful.
Which that's a downfall because some students can't reach that level. Because I have teachers in my family and all I hear about in family is preaching about how it's impossible to make sure that these kids reach this level, especially the ones that aren't capable of learning that fast.
And it definitely is very difficult. It's a very, from my perspective, very idealistic law, and it's not implemented very well. It's a very noble concept. We want every single student to achieve. We want every single student, to be highly educated in the United States, especially since, like what we talked about last week in terms of India has as many gifted children as we have children total. So we really need to make sure that every single individual counts. We need to try and make sure that every single individual is educated to the highest power. So that's the hope behind it. Although,
it's a good thought, but it's executed poorly.
exactly, very good intentions, but we know what happens with good intentions and where that's paid to. So, looking at No Child Left Behind in terms of specifics, here are a couple of the different elements that are specific staples of it. So by 2013, 2014, they want every single student to be proficient in reading and language arts and mathematics. Every single student. And this includes students that have English as a second language, which is going to be increasingly difficult because I think by the year 2025, I'm not sure on the exact number, but it's somewhere around there, English will no longer be the language of the majority in the United States. So this is something, again, that we have to think about and manage with. By 2005, 2006, all students will be taught by highly qualified teachers. And the big thing on this is once you all graduate and take your tests and get your certificate, you will be highly qualified teachers. So they want people that have actually gone through teacher certification programs. The problem with this is that in very rural areas or very urban areas or very high need subject-specific areas, sometimes it's difficult to find someone to fill these particular spots. Like, is anybody secondary science, physics? No? Well, that is a high need area. If you want to adopt another minor, you will get a job like that, although secondary science you'll be fine anyways. But so those high need areas, you can get somebody that is like a former physicist and have them come into the classroom, and then you can give them certification as you go through. So they wanted to try and get that number down. Also, that by the 8th grade, all students will be technologically literate. So they're coming up with tests now in order to evaluate whether or not the 8th grade students are in fact technologically literate. And then all students will graduate from high school. And so just to kind of give you an idea, right now, the United States graduates about 70%.